Kakadosh Boker Or Masechet Bava Metzia Daf Lamed Daled Amud Aleph 34a1. We were talking about now that a person cannot acquire something which is not in this world. So even according to Rabbi means that he says that a person can acquire something that does not come to this world. That is only going to be, for example, perot degel. We're talking about the perot of a dekel of a fruit of a palm tree, the fruits of a palm tree, that they're going to come out. But here in this case of the Mishnah, whoever said that, first of all, whoever said that it's going to be stolen. So when he gives over the animal as a pikadon, whoever said it's going to be stolen. Even if you're going to tell me the mikvah that it's going to be stolen, whoever said that you're going to find the ganav. Right? And if you're going to actually even find the ganav, whoever said that he's going to pay, maybe he's going to be moden, he's going to become patur. So the Gemara answers, Amar Rava answers, Nasa keomerlo, it's like that he says, if it's going to be stolen, and you want to come and you want to pay me, instead of coming and swearing and becoming exempt, my para is going to be acquired to you from now. Okay. So the Gemara is now going to ask on this. Matkifla Rabbi Zera. Rabbi Zera comes and he asks the following question. If you're going to tell me right now that the shomer is going to acquire the animal lemafrea. What does that mean, lemafrea? He's going to acquire the animal from the time that it's given over to him. So then it has to be shafilu gizotea. So then it's going to be that even the gizot of vladot, nabi, even the shearings of the wool or the children also should be already his. Because since he already bought the body of the animal retroactively, so everything should belong to him. Which means if he sheared the wool in the middle, it should belong to him. If he came and he has the animal has a child, it should belong to him. 34A. Yes. So alama tanya. So why do we learn then in a braita chutz mi gizotea, right, uvladotea, except for the gizot and the vladot? Ela amar Rabbi Zera, but rather Rabbi Zera says naasa keomerlo. It's like he's saying to him chutz mi gizotea uvladotea, which means that when you're going to acquire the para, it's going to be yours except for the children and the shearings. Meaning the guy is actually giving to him only everything else except for the children and the shearings. So one more time, we're talking about a guy comes and he gives over an animal as a pikadon. Now really when he's giving over this animal, he's giving it over in a form that really the guy is already acquiring the animal, the body of the animal from now, that if right now it gets stolen, right, so there the guy will come, he's going to pay, and by paying, he does not have to do anything else. Okay, that means he pays and that's it. So here the Gemara is going to say, however though, even though we just said this, we said except for the gizot and ladot, because if you're going to tell me that he acquires it from the retroactively, so any type of shearings of the wool or any children will also belong to the guy now, to the person that was kept the collateral, right? It should also belong to him. But rather we're saying it's as if that he said except for, okay, except for this. So says the Gemara, umay paska. What did you say, right? What did you see to say, no. It's only for this and not for that. Why do you say that? So he comes and he says, stama deminta. Yeah, he comes and he says this. The stama deminta, shivcha de'ata me'alma, anything which is coming from the world, avid inish temakne, he's going to come and he's going to be makne to other people. But shivcha de megufa, but if it's a shevach that comes from its own body, lo avid inish temakne, people are not going to come and they're going to make them acquire it. Which means that the chachamim are not going to come and agree that it should be maknelo, something which is meaning if it's going to be something external.
Like what?
The kefil, double, 4 and 5 times. Those things that comes internal. That comes meaning like this. If I right now have an internal, how do you call it? It's like the animal itself has internal, not salary. It's like appreciation in value. So that I will never be makneh to somebody else. But if it's going to be something external, that yes. Okay? Ika damre. There are those that say, Amar Rava. Rava comes and he says, Naasa keomerlo. It's as if that he says and tells him, here he comes and he says it's a different version. One more time. What was the case? Right? If you guys don't zoom out and remember the case, we're lost. One more time. The case is that right now I come and I give a pikadon, a collateral to somebody to watch over. It gets stolen. Now, usually, right, for gineva v'avida, which means getting lost or stolen, this person, since he was doing it for free, he's always exempt unless it was a negligence. Now, but to become exempt, he has to swear. The guy did not want to swear that it was law. So what did he do? He paid up. He pays. So when this guy comes and he pays, the animal now belongs to him because he comes instead of the animal. So he said, okay, fine, but who now gets the double portion? Or who gets, meaning that if they do find the ganav, the thief, he has to pay double. Who gets the double? The original owner? He was already paid back for his animal. Or is it now the guy that was watching over the collateral, right? Or the same thing for the 4 and 5 times, meaning the ganav came, the thief came, and he stole it, and then he slaughtered it and sold it. He has to pay 4 and 5 times. Who does he pay that back to? To the original owner or to the guy that kept the collateral? So the Gemara says, if he didn't pay for it, right? If the guy just swore and he became exempt, so obviously who gets it? The original owner. But if the guy already paid for it, he gets it. So the question is, how does he get it? It's not his. So he said, no, when he gave him the para, it's as if that he already did an acquisition with him, that he says that it's going to be his if it gets stolen. So we asked, 1 second, you cannot acquire something that didn't come to the world. Right. Because whoever said, and that's how we started today's daf, whoever said it's going to get stolen, and even if it's going to get stolen, whoever said that it's going to be, you're going to find the ganav, and even if you're going to find the ganav, whoever said that maybe he's going to admit to it, and then he doesn't have to pay the double, or he doesn't have to pay the 4 and 5 times. So we came and we answered, right? No, the really be'emet, it's going to be that you're going to come and you're going to tell the guy that's watching over the collateral that you're actually telling him that if it's going to be stolen and you want to pay me, so it's acquired to you from now. So we asked if it's going to be from now, so even the children and the shearings of the wool should belong to you. Meaning like this, I come and children and no. So 1 second, but they're going to ask. They're going to ask, Richard, I come and I give you my animal. All of a sudden it gets stolen. Now you come and you don't want to swear, so you give me the money. Now, if it's going to be acquired to you when I gave it to you, in between it had a child, that child should belong to you, not to me. Because you acquired it, and it went retroactively. The Gemara answers, it's except for the children and the shearings. Why? Because we said that there's a difference between an internal and an external appreciation and value. Meaning that if it's something going to be external, I would come and say, you know what, keep it. But if it's something going to be internal, I know that it's going to come, and it comes from the animal, I want it for myself.
But you can't even contract it to keep the shearings and the wool? No, you can contract.
Remember, whenever there's an Ika de Amre, it always means that there's another version. So the other version is that Rava comes and he says, it's Ke'ilu, he's telling him that when it gets stolen and you're going to pay me, it's only acquired to you samuch legnevata, close to the, meaning it's not from you retroactively from the beginning when I gave it to you. It's yours right before it got stolen. So now that it's only, but not before. Not before. Only right before it gets stolen. So therefore, if you had the babies and the shearings before, obviously it belongs to me. Okay, and then you get out of it. My bena, what's the difference between them? You can out the difference between them is going to be the kushav, Rabbi Zera, to do with the shearings and the children. Right? Inami, or if you want, you could have another answer also. Difference between the two different answers. Tekaima ba'agam. What happens right now if the para is in a swamp at the time that it's stolen? And therefore it wasn't in the chatzer of the shomer during the time. According to the first shomer, right, the shomer is going to be zoche and the kefel also in that case. Because once he acquired the para lemafreya retroactively, so therefore it also belongs to him. But according to the second one, he cannot acquire the para unless it's going to be in his chatzer. And therefore, since right now the para is in the swamp, he doesn't acquire it. We're by the 2 dots. Says the 2 dots, shilem velo ratzah lishava. If a person comes and he pays the shomer, the pikadon, and he does not want to come and swear, Amar Rav Chia bar Abba, Amar Rav Yochanan, says Rav Chia bar Rav Yochanan, Lo shilem mamash. We're not talking about that mamash he paid it. Ela kevan she'amar adin mishalem. The second that the guy comes and he says, I'm going to pay it, af al pi shelo shilem, even though he didn't pay it, that's already enough. Meaning the fact that the guy that was watching over the object said, I'm going to pay you for it instead of swearing, it's already his, even though he didn't actually physically pay. Tanan, we learned in the Mishnah, shilem v'lo ratzah lishava, if he paid and he didn't actually swear, shilem, no, it all depends on paying. What are you talking about? It wasn't that just he said that he's going to give a pledge. Remember, the difference between a pledge and actual money is shamayim v'aretz.
Yeah, you know, pledge is what I did last night.
Yeah, exactly. You understand? There's a lot of people that come and they give a lot of pledges, but you understand? So he says, Ema seifa, let's see the seifa. Nishba v'lo ratzah l'shalem. If a person is going to swear and he doesn't want to pay, Tama, the reasoning is the lo ratzah, because he didn't want to pay. Haratzah, but if he wanted to pay, even if he didn't. Which means that if you're going to take the reish and the seif of the Mishnah, you cannot deduce anything. Because from one part of the Mishnah, it's mashma that you have to pay. And if you didn't pay, you didn't do anything. And from the other point, it's mashma that you don't need to pay. That the fact that you wanted to pay, that's already enough. So Tana Kavate de Rabbi Yochanan, we actually learned it in accordance to Rabbi Yochanan. Hasocher para mechavro v'nigneva. If you are going to rent out a para from your friend and it's going to be stolen, v'amar hala, and the other guy comes and he says, "Aneni mishalem, I'm going to pay. Ve'enu nishba, I'm not going to swear. Ve'achar kach nimtza ganav, and afterwards you're going to find the ganav. Mishalem tashlum kefel lasocher. You have to pay tashlum kefel, double to the socher. So Amar of Papa comes and he says, Shomer chinam, kevan shamar pashati. A shomer chinam, the second that he comes and he says pashati, makne lekfeila. You're going to be makne kfela. Kfela is kefel, the double. But lemafrea. Okay, that means that when the guy comes and he says pashati, right? So obviously that's it. But remember, pshia, you are obligated to pay. Okay? Pshia is negligence. Meaning if the guy was negligent and that's why it was stolen or lost or whatever it is, obviously he's going to have to pay. But if he wanted to come, right, and he wanted to make himself patur, shomer sachar keman shamar nigneva, the second that the shomer sachar comes and he says that it's going to be stolen, makne lekfeila, he's already going to be makne. Yes. The ibaye pater nafshe bishvura umeta, but he could have just said that, listen, that it died or it was an honest or whatever it is. But shoel that comes and he says, shoel is the borrower, that he comes and he says, hareni mishalem, I'm going to pay. Lo makni lekfeila, he's not going to be makne lo the kfeila, the kefel, the double. Why? How does it become patur? Meta mechamat melacha. Meta mechamat melacha lo shchiach. Meaning, for a shoel, the only way to get out for a shoel, a borrower, is only if it's going to be meta mechamat melacha, which means that it dies during work. And that's not common. So since it's not common, we can't always use that. That means, for example, I come and I borrow your car. And on the way of driving normally, again, I'm not going on, in puddles of water. I'm not going on dirt roads. Everything normal. Something happens to it. So in that case, I'm going to be patur. Because that's called meta mechamat melacha. It died because of melacha, but it's not common. So because of that, you can't use that as this type of like of amigu here that you're trying to do. So ika damri, there are those that say, Amar of Papa comes and he says, Shoel nami, also a shoel. Kevan shamar, once he says, Hareni mishalem, I'm going to pay the principal. Makne lekfeila, he acquires the kfeila lemafrea. The ibai patan of because he could actually make himself exempt by meta mechamat melacha. Meaning, according to this Ikadamne, you can exempt yourself from this svara by saying that it died because of normal work. Remember, the shoel, the only way to become patur is only meta mechamat melacha. Okay?
But these people haven't paid. They just say, I will pay.
Yes. Says the Gemara, right? Amaleh Razvid is now going to argue on Rav Papa. Hachi Amar Abaye, this is what Rav Abaye said. Hashoel ad shalem. No, you have to actually pay. Meaning it's not just saying that you're going to pay. You have to actually pay. My tama, what's reasoning? Since right now all the hana'ah, all the benefit came to him, to the borrower, right? With dibur, you don't acquire the kefel. Meaning like this. Until now, we were talking about the shomeres, which are basically your paid custodian or unpaid custodian. There, you're not really benefiting from it, right? So therefore, what happens is with the speech in itself, it's already enough that you're going to acquire the kefel. Here, the fact that you're borrowing and therefore you're benefiting until now, you only acquire the kefel when you actually physically pay. Not just I'm going to pay. No. Okay? We actually have a bright in accordance to Rav Zid. Only if he paid, then we found the ganav, he's going to pay tashlum kefel to the shoel. So Lishna Kama de Rav Papa, according to Lishna Kama, the first version of Rav Papa, for sure it's not considered a tiyuvta, it's not considered a stira. But even though Rav Papa said that the shoel is not going to acquire just with speech, right? But he says, but okay, fine. But nevertheless, he's going to be moded that if he did pay, for sure he gets it. But according to Lishna Batra, right, that he says that you're going to come and you're going to acquire it, even with saying that I'm going to pay, so that's a tiyuvta then. So Rav Papa is going, meaning the question is only if it's going to be, right, if you actually pay, for sure it's not a question. But if it's only going to be on speech, then you have a question. But here it says only if you paid. It doesn't say only if you're going to say you're going to pay. So Rav Papa is going to answer you, Mi alimad matnitin, is this better than our Mishnah? Tiktani shilem v'okimna be'amar, hachanami be'amar. Meaning, the same way that in our Mishnah, I could have stuck into the words that you said you wanted to pay, even though you didn't actually pay. The same thing I could do in this Braita, that I could explain the Braita by saying that you said you were going to pay, even though you didn't actually pay. So therefore, it's not a proof against me. One more time. According to Rav Papa, it was enough just saying that I'm going to pay. According to the Zvid, you had to actually pay. Okay, so we brought a Braita, and this Braita was in accordance to Rozvid, because it says that you actually came and you paid it. So Rav Papa says, is that Braita better than the Mishnah? Just like the Mishnah, I explained the Mishnah by saying that it's Ki'ilu that you said you were going to pay. Same thing as the Braita. You said you were going to pay. Didn't mean that you actually said.
It goes against
right?
the simple wording of the...
Mi Dami, can you compare both cases? Hatam, over there in the Mishnah, it didn't say the word Kidem. Kidem means that you preempted. You did something like before. So it doesn't say in the Mishnah Kidem, right? Kidem v'shilem, which means that you went right away and you paid right away. Here, it actually says the words Kidem. Meaning in our Mishnah, you wanted to like stick into the words that you said you were going to pay. Okay, fine. It doesn't really go in, but okay, yeah, okay, no. Yeah? But here, when it says Kidem v'shilem, means that you went right away and you paid. So that it's much harder to stick into the words that you wanted to pay. So answers the Gemara, my Kidem ve'amar. No, the word Kidem does not mean that you actually went and you paid. It means you jumped up and you said it that you're going to pay. That's what it means. Kidem, that you went before and you said that you're going to pay. Even before somebody even found the ganav, you went right away and you said you're going to pay it. So Hami diktani gabe socher, that which we learned by a renter, that he says vegabe shoel kidem. 1 second. By socher, it said that he said the words that he's going to pay. By the shoel, it says kidem. Use a different terminology. So shema mina dafka ktani. So it's mashma that it was dafka, not lav dafka. I think we have to turn on the air stronger. Yeah, you understood? Meaning, right, that by the socher, the renter, it was written the words he said it. By the borrower, it says he went ahead and he did it. So you cannot compare both terminologies. Meaning, by the renter, you're right, he said it, but by the borrower, he actually went ahead and he actually paid for it. So you can't compare both cases. So answers the Gemara, no, you're right. Midi gabi adaditania, right? They're both the exact same thing. He says what? You think the both raitot were brought together? Each raita meaning like this. If you're right, if they were brought together, so it's very weird to use one terminology of saying and one terminology of went ahead. But that means they're different. But if both of them were said in separate instances, I could still apply to both. You understood, Richard? Meaning like this, like a lawyer. If I'm going to come and I'm going to tell you a law, and I'm going to tell you rule number 1, this wording, and rule number 2, a different wording, you're going to tell me why did you use different ruling for the different wording for the both? Because they're different. But if I'm going to bring it to you from 2 different cases, one was a case over there and one was a case over there, even though you use different ruling, I cannot come and say that you use different wording because it was 2 different cases. Sometimes it was the exact same case, but just depends on the terminology. If you're bringing it together, then yes, it's going to be a difference between them. You understand? It's like a halacha that I'm going to tell you chayav, you're obligated, and then I say tzarich, you're required. Why in one place does it say chayav and one does it say required? But if they're 2 completely different halachot, and one is in ilchot pesach, and one is in ilchot brachot, and one I say chayav, one I say required, it does not mean that they're 2 different halachot. The one is, you cannot start deducing in the wording. Because sometimes I could use just different wordings. It's just nuances or whatever it is. But if it's together, you're going to say, 1 second, why over here did he use this and this? There you could say that when they're together. You understood? So says now the Gemara, Shaililu letanai devera b'chia udvera v'oshaya ve'amri b'gabe adad etanyan. However, though, we actually asked the Bnei Yeshiva, they asked the Chachamim, was it taught together? And it was taught together. So now that it was taught together, now it's much more difficult to come and to give the answer that we just gave. Again, one more time. What do we say? We said that in one place it said Amar, which is to say, the guy said that he was going to pay. And in the other place it said Kadam, that he went ahead and he actually did something. So therefore, at the beginning, we wanted to answer that since it was taught in 2 separate instances, so therefore, even though one person said Amar, to say, and the other person said Kadam, which is he went ahead, it's the same halacha. We could both say that he just said it. Why did you use different terminology? They were taught in different instances. But if you're going to tell me that they were taught together, you can't say that. 100%. Because if you were taught together, it means that if I use one terminology by one and one by another, it means that there's going to be a difference, right, between them. So says the Gemara, Pshita, it's obvious. Amar eni mishalem. If he says, I'm not going to pay, and then he says, I am going to pay, Hakamar, he said, harim mishalem, I'm going to pay. But if he says, harim mishalem, right, v'chazar v'amar eni mishalem, Lamedalad Amabet, 34b. If he says that I'm going to pay, and afterwards he says I'm not going to pay, yeah, what's halacha? That's the question. What's halacha now? What's halacha? Mi amrinan. Are we going to say me'ahadar kahadarbe, which means, right, that the shomer is chozer bo, or dilmar maybe b'mintekai, or maybe I'm going to say that he's still there in his words. V'dechu yehu dekama adchileh, and really be'emet he's just doche oto, which means until he gets money. Exactly, that means he's sold himself and he's just trying to push him off until he gets money to do it, which means like this. If at the beginning he said he's not going to pay, and then afterwards he said he's going to pay, so for sure he gets the kefil. Because even though at the beginning he rejected it, but then afterwards he comes and he says, I'm going to pay, he's going to pay it up. But if he said the opposite, right, maybe be'emet, he was actually, do we say that he's actually retracting and he is going to actually pay for it? Or do we say he's just trying to push him off until he gets the money? That's what we're trying to find out. So Amar, another doubt, okay, now we're going to bring down a few doubts. Okay, another doubt. If he says, Hareni Mishalem, I'm going to pay, and then he dies, and then his children say that they're not going to pay, what's halacha? Do we say, Mahada Kadubu, that they retracted, or Dilma, or maybe Beminta Davu Kaimun, or maybe we're going to say that they're still standing in the words of their father, and they're pushing him off in order to get the money. Yeah, until they get the money in order to pay. Right? Another doubt. Shilmu abanim. What happens if the children paid for the keren, the principal? What's halacha? Do we say, Ki akna kfil al v'chon, I only came and I gave the kefil to your father. Tavili naicha nefshai, because he did korat ruach to me, which means he was nice to me. Ledidchu loba, to you guys know, and therefore I should get the kefil. Or dilmar, maybe there's no difference between the father and the children. The fact that they paid for it, gamarnu, that's it. And now they found the ganav, the kefil goes to them. Everyone understood the doubt. Another doubt, right? Shilem labanim. If right now, right, the mafkid dies, and then afterwards, right, nignava pikadon, and the shomer comes and they paid to the children of the mafkid, what's halacha? Matzi amaleu. Do we say that they could say ki akne lecha avuna kfela when the father came and he was makne the kfela davat that he did the gorat ruach to us, aval ledidanan ledidan lo, but for us to right? Odin maloshna, or maybe there's no difference. Next doubt, what about now if both died? Meaning, the owner and the one that received the collateral. And the children of the one that received the collateral of the shomer pays the children of the owner. What's halacha? Do they also get the kefel or not? Another doubt, right? Shilem mechza. What happens if he only paid half of the principal? What's halacha? Does he get the kefel or not? Because until now he only paid half. Okay? Another doubt. Sha'al shte parot. What happens if he borrowed 2 cows and he only paid one of them? Or sha'al mina shutafin, he borrowed from the partners and he only paid one of the partners, meaning the half. What's halacha? Or shutfin sheshalu, you have shutafin partners that borrowed, the shilem echame, and only one of the partners paid. What's halacha? Another 2 last doubts. If you borrowed from a woman from the property of nichse melug, which means that she brought into the marriage, and you paid the husband, what's halacha? Or a woman that borrowed and then the husband paid, v'shilem ba'ala, the husband paid, what's halacha in all these cases? Basically, in all these cases, does the kefil go to them, not go to them? Again, in each one you have the 2 different sides, whether yes, whether no. Answer is teku. Okay? Fine. Next Gemara. Amar Ravuna. Ravuna comes and he says, even though the shomer was maskim to pay the pikadon, mashvin oto shavua, still, he still has to make a shavua. Meaning we thought that he gets exempt from the oath by coming and just paying up. No. Even after paying, he still has to swear that it's not by him. My tama, what's the reasoning? Chashinan, we suspect, shema enav natamba. Maybe he wanted it. Meaning we suspect that the guy wanted it. So he's going to come and say, you know what, I'm just going to pay you for it. You understood?
No.
One more time. The guy wants it.
Right.
You come and you give to me this phone. Right? I look at it and after a little while I say, you know what, I really want the phone.
Right.
So you come back to me, I'm sorry, Richard, it's stolen.
Okay.
So now, technically speaking, I have to swear.
Right.
You know what, Richard? I don't want to swear. I don't like swearing. Here, just here's the money.
Fine.
Right? Says the Gemara, I still have to swear that it's not by me. Why? Maybe by meant I wanted to keep it, and therefore I'm paying you just because I want it.
That you didn't steal it, that it's not by me now.
That it's not by me now, meaning that it's
given it to somebody or
doesn't matter,
it.
but it means that it's not by me. That means I don't have any
If you had a tie before it, you're not going to steal it.
Meitvei, so then we ask the question,
said, why did he
Hamalve et chavero. If somebody is going to lend his friend, ala mashkon, ve'avad mashkon, and then it got lost. Ve'amar lo, and he comes and he tells him, Sela il viticha alav, right, that you're going to come and I'm going to have a sela, I lent it to you. Ve'shekel haya shaveh, and it was worth a shekel. Ve'hala omer, and the other one says, no, ki ela sela ivatan, you only gave me a sela, ve'sela shaveh. What's shaveh a sela? You're going to be patur. Why? Because since you say that you're going to be patur completely, you're not even modeh b'miktzat. So therefore, what are you telling me now, right? That you have to come and you have to swear. Another case, sela ilviticha alav shekel hayashaveh. If I come and I gave you a sela, and it was worth a shekel, vehala omen, he says no, it was actually a sela, and it was worth 3 dinarim. Okay, a sela is 4 dinarim. So then here you are chayav, because here it's modeh b'miktzat. So basically like this. The question that we have is there's a Mishnah in Shavuot that says that if you're going to come and you're going to lend, right, your friend on a mashkon, and the mashkon got lost. So imagine, I come and I tell you, okay, fine, I'm lending you money. What's the collateral? Now the collateral got lost. Now he comes and he says, listen, I lent you a sela, right, and it was, the mashkon was worth only half of a sela, a shekel. And the other guy comes and he says, no, what are you talking about? It was a sela and it was a sela. So he's patur legamre. Why is he patur legamre? Because that means I owe you nothing. Because when I gave you the collateral was worth 100% the debt. So therefore, that's it, I'm exempt. Okay, because my collateral was the debt. So if you lost the collateral, it's tough luck on you, and therefore I don't have to pay you a penny. But if it was going to tell you, no, but it was only worth 3/4, that means I still owe you something, so then I have to actually swear what is the actual value. Okay? Another case, what happens if a person comes and he says, I lent you a sela, but it was worth actually 2 slaim? The hala, when he says, no, it was only worth 1 sela, he's going to be patur. Right? The last case, all right, I lent you a sela and it was worth 2 slaim. V'hala omer, another one comes and he says, Lo kiela yisela ilveticha alav 5 dinarim hayta shaveh. It was worth 5 dinarim. Yeah, chayav, you're going to be chayav. So says the Gemara, the Mishnah finishes, Ni nishba, who swears? Nisha pikadon etzlo, the one that had the pikadon, or Shema yishavazev yotzi ala pikadon, or the other one, and he's going to take out the pikadon. Which means, who's the one that's swearing? The one that had the collateral and that he lost it, or the guy that actually gave the collateral? Meaning the one that had the collateral and the one that gave the collateral. Which one? That's the question, the Gemara's question. Okay? So, he says over here, who's swearing? Misha pikadon etzlo, right? The one that had the pikadon by him. Why? Because if the other one's going to swear, the other one's going to take out the pikadon. And therefore, we never want to come and cause somebody to make us shavua for nothing.
And
So
you
therefore,
never swear again in court.
yes, no. So because of that, that's why we purposely only make it that the one that had the pikadon by him, he's the one that swears it. Okay. The Gemara says, "Ahai." On which case are we going on? Ilema seifa. If you're going to tell me that it's going on the seifa, right? So typically the shvua gabe malvehu. Why don't we just say it's the shvua by the malve, by the lender? But he's actually modeh in part of the ta'ana. Elamar Shmuel, but rather Shmuel says it's going on the reisha, the beginning part of the Mishnah. What does it mean a reisha? A seifa de reisha, on the end of the reisha. Meaning there was many different parts in the Mishnah, right? So it says, Sela ilviticha alav, I lent you a sela, v'shekel hayashaveh, but the mashkon was only shaveh half of a sela, which is a shekel. V'hala omer, the other guy comes, he says, no, it was a sela and it was worth 3 dinarim. So he's going to be chayav. Why? Teshvua gabe lovehu. Because in such a case, the shvua is going to be mi'ikar adin on the love, on the borrower, right? But he was the one that was modeh b'miktzat. But the rabbis came in and said, you make the other guy swear in order not to always disprove him. Shema yishavazev yotzi halal tapikadon. Okay, ve'im ita ledravuna. Now, if you're going to tell me like Ravuna, right? Kevan de mishtaba malve. Once he comes and he swears that it's not in his possession, how does he take it out? Meaning, if he's going to swear that I don't have it, now you're going to have the other guy coming and swearing that how much is the value. How in the world am I going to take it out? What was the entire suspicion? The entire suspicion was really Bemet. He was the one that came in and admitted partially. Remember, anybody that admits partially, you have to swear. That's called modeh b'miktzat. If you admit to partial of the claim, you have to swear. But we said here we flip it. Why do we flip it? Because we don't want that the other guy is going to take it out and then disprove you, and then you're always going to become prohibited to swear in court because you just became disproved. The question is, if I swore that I don't have it, how am I going to take it out of my hands and then disprove you? It doesn't exist. So because of that, Rava comes and he says, you're right, there's a deem that it was already burnt. Okay? There was a deem that it already got burned.